Hi YouTube, my name is Ian Felpel, and this is my MicroKorg, or the owner's manual anyway. First of all, thank you to everyone who viewed my last video, liked, subscribed, commented. I received a lot of positive feedback and some very helpful criticisms that I'm keeping in mind for future tutorials and videos. With all that said, Boards of Canada. They're a Scottish electronic music duo. They've made a ton of down-tempo, ambient, IDM, whatever you want to name it. They're sort of precursors to the current analog synth revival, and perhaps a slight precursor to vaporwave. And they've made a lot of albums, some of which have been known to be some of the most seminal electronic albums of all time. I've been a fan of this group for a long time, ever since I was really in middle school, and I'm a 22-year-old man now at this point. I listened to Music Has the Right to Children, love that album, love Roygbiv. I even bought Gio Gotti on vinyl. So today we're going to attempt to make a synth lead on the MicroKorg that is inspired by Boards of Canada, Tycho, and these groups that are making these lo-fi, chilled out, ambient down-tempo soundscapes. And I want to make a big note here that I'm saying these are inspired for a reason. There are a lot of people who really want to nail the Boards of Canada sound. I don't think any producer other than Boards of Canada actually knows how to really nail that sound. It's impossible for me to even attempt to bring this to YouTube and say, this is how you do the Boards of Canada sound. I'm not even going to claim that. This is inspired by these artists who love these warm analog lead sounds. And I've tried as best as I can to really get as close into that realm as I can here. So here we go. So to start, we're going to hit Shift 3 to initialize our patch. We're going to head over to voice, and we're going to change our voice assign to monophonic because we only need to play one note at a time. So unless you are an 80s shred metal guitar player, you only need to play one note at a time. And our pitch, we're going to turn our vibrato int to 0 because we're going to use our mod wheel for something else a little later. And our oscillator 1, we're going to stick with our simple sawtooth wave, but we're also going to manipulate control 1, which modifies our waveform to produce an octave higher than the original pitch. And as you go in between, you kind of get this slight detune effect. For this, we're going to set this knob to about 33, and then over here we're going to be assigning LFO1 to modulate that, which we're going to put to 45. So at this point we're going to get this sound. It's just something that slightly detunes it, and it makes it sound a little thicker and more complex than our normal sawtooth. Go to our mixer and put oscillator 2's level up to about 100. In oscillator 2, we're going to keep a sawtooth. We're not going to apply any oscillator mods to it. We're going to shift it up an octave just so that way we get more rich harmonics. And then we're also going to detune it by 2. So already we got a rich sound that we can filter with our filter. And we're going to switch it down to 24 low pass, which gives us a more dramatic cutoff. We're also going to set our resonance to about 30 so that way we can get into this silky smooth, almost squelchy territory. In our amp envelope, we're going to set this to 1 instead of release to 5, and the only reason we're doing that is just so that way we can take the slight clicks out of the sound that sometimes comes out when we play monophonically. In LFO1, we're going to keep this in our triangle function so that way it goes up and down constantly, and we're going to set it to a rate of 21. And in LFO2, we're going to set this to our sample and hold envelope, which essentially is like a noise generator, and that it's generating random values, but it's holding those values at a specific rate. And we're going to set our rate here to about 55. Now, unlike our previous tutorial, we're actually going to use some patch cables here. We're going to use our first patch cable with LFO1, and we're going to set that to our cutoff. and modulate it by a very small amount of 21. In patch 2, we're going to keep it at LFO2 and set that to our pitch, and we're going to turn that up to a very slight amount of 7. We're getting those pitch instabilities in our tuning, which sounds exactly like our old analog gear. And in patch 3, and this is why we turned off our vibrato here, we're going to set it to our mod wheel with our cutoff and turn that up to 36. And this is more for keyboard players or anyone who wants more control over the cutoff filter. It's still going to modulate, but you have a little more control over it. Finally, we're going to get to our mod effects. It seems that Boards of Canada loves to use some sort of effect or maybe unison or something to fatten up the sound, and here we're actually going to use our flanger. We have an ensemble effect, which is a chorus effect. Why would we be using a flanger? And the reason for this is because both a flanger and chorus work on the exact same principle. It takes our sound, makes a copy of it, and delays it by a very short amount in milliseconds. The only difference between the flanger and the chorus is how long that copy is delayed. With flangers, it's anywhere less than 20 milliseconds. Choruses are above 20 milliseconds. Korg knew this so well to the point that they actually put in both a chorus and flanger in this flanger effect. For our purposes, we're going to keep our mod depth at about 20 with a modulation rate of 29, and this just gives a very slight chorus effect. In our delay, we're going to use a left and right delay. That's more for my own taste because I like hearing it on both sides, having a little bit of depth and space to it. We're going to keep our rate at 40 and push the delay up to 80. And in our EQ, this is more for your own taste, but I prefer to keep it at 320 and 6000 and push both up to about 4. And here's my Boards of Canada-esque sound. Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, and if you enjoy what I'm doing here, hit the subscribe button, as I will be making videos every Wednesday and Friday. Comment if you have any questions or even helpful criticisms. That will help me to ensure that every video that I do can be tailored for you. Thanks again for watching. Have a great weekend.